44 was retired and donated.
Really? I was looking at some of the yellow kind of.
Yeah, I think they did paint the nose CSX, but they kept everything else from the cab behind CNO blue with CNO lettering.
You can see there was something going on here.
Yeah.
Let's do the back part. Guess I can't come up here then. Just take a look at the back part. All right.
Maybe.
Scream, no, I'm not interested. Please, Ava, I need you.
That's
there.
good news.
I don't think I can face them
Good
alone,
news.
and I have things I need to say.
I think he's leaving.
Proceed to the route. I'm going to tell them how I feel either way.
Turn left onto Roxbury Street, then turn right onto Milk Street.
No,
I agree.
I don't need you.
The event took place at an expensive restaurant downtown. I
You need to do
purposefully
some of
came
my
15
video for
minutes
me too
late.
today.
And let's just get to it, I said. What is this about? My mother folded her hands on the table. We're here because our family has been fractured for over a year now, and it's time to heal. We're willing to move past your birthday tantrum if you're willing to apologize and acknowledge your part in this rift. I stared at her. My part? You left without giving us a chance to explain our position. You cut off contact. You refused to come home for holidays. Those were choices you made. After you chose to prioritize Chloe's feelings over my entire existence, I responded with a smile. We were trying to be sensitive to your sister's needs. Chloe spoke out, her voice cracking, as she forbade me from celebrating my adulthood. Stop talking about me like I'm not here. Everyone turned to face her. I'm the reason this dinner is happening, she explained, because I have things I need to say to all of you. My mother reached over and patted her hand. Honey, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Chloe drew her hand back. I need to say that Abel was right about everything. You did favor me. You did coddle me. You made her feel invisible so I could feel special, and that was wrong. My father's face darkened. Chloe, your sister is twisting. No, she's not. I'm 18 now, almost 19. I'm old enough to see what happened. Every time Ava accomplished something, you downplayed it. Every time I failed at something, you made excuses. You threw me a second Sweet 16 party because I was feeling insecure, but you wouldn't let Ava have a simple dinner for her 21st birthday. How is that fair? We were going through a difficult time, my mother explained defensively. I was being a brat, Chloe said, her voice rising. And you enabled it instead of parenting me. Do you know how unprepared I was for college, for real life? I almost failed out my first year because I had no idea how to function without you solving all my problems. We were protecting you, my father insisted. From what? Reality? Growing up? Chloe demanded.
Starting route to 625 Bird Street.
You gave her no choice.
Proceed to East Ridgeway Street, then take the first left.
I'm so sorry for being part of why you had to leave. For being spoiled and self-centered and not standing up for you when I should have. I felt my...
Take a slight right turn onto Main Street.
My mother stared between us, her countenance changing to something terrible. I cannot believe I'm hearing this. After everything we've done for you, Chloe, the opportunities we've given you, the sacrifices we've made. You mean the opportunities and sacrifices you gave to her while giving me nothing? I questioned in a whisper.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto A Street.
My mother snapped. You have your fancy job and your apartment, and your perfect life. Maybe we knew you were strong enough to handle things without our support. That's not parenting, I said. That's abandonment with extra steps. How dare you? She's right, Chloe said. That's exactly what it was. You abandoned Ava emotionally long before she left physically, and now you're mad because she succeeded anyway. And I'm finally seeing you clearly. My father rose abruptly. I don't have to sit here and listen to this disrespect. Then leave, I replied simply. We're all adults here. You can leave anytime you want. He stared at me, obviously expecting me to back down. When I didn't, he tossed his napkin on the table and went away. My mother paused, glancing between Chloe and me. You're making a mistake, she said, Chloe. Siding with her will only hurt you in the long run. The only mistake I made was taking so long to see the truth, Chloe informed me. My mother grabbed her pocketbook and followed my father outside. Chloe and I sat silently for a moment. Well, she concluded, that went about as well as expected. Are you okay? No, but I will be. She dried her eyes.
At the next light, turn right.
I'm glad I did. We ordered dinner for just the two of us and discussed everything but our parents.
Is he still moving or is he stopped?
She told me about a boy she was seeing,
It looks like
about
he
changing
stopped.
her major to psychology, and about the volunteer work she had begun at an adolescent.
At the light, turn
He's
right
moving a
onto
little
A
bit.
Street.
Alright,
Ethan's
it's
proposal last week,
showtime!
and the idea of starting my own
Alright.
design firm after graduation.
We on it.
You're getting married? She seemed really pleased for me. Eventually, we're thinking a long engagement. Will you invite mom and dad?
All right.
I pondered it. Probably not. They've made it clear what they think of my choices. Fair.
All right, I got my earphones.
Around 10 o'clock, we left the restaurant and she hugged me and I hugged her back. Something that had been broken.
In a quarter mile, arrive at your
Yeah, it
destination.
stopped.
3 months later, I received a text from my mother. Just a single line. Your father and I would want to talk. I presented it to Ethan, who was preparing dinner at our new flat. What do you want to do? He inquired. Nothing, I replied, dismissing the message. I want to do absolutely nothing. Good. I texted Chloe instead. Coffee tomorrow? She reacted instantaneously, already present in spirit. My 21st birthday was everything my 18th should have been. The 22nd was even better. Ethan, Chloe, Sophie, and my design collective buddies leased out a tiny location and threw me a celebration that felt like I was surrounded by people who knew I existed.
Arrive at your destination.
How proud she was of everything.
Arrive.
Ethan kissed me under the string lights. Chloe hugged me and said, "Happy birthday, sis." Later, while sitting on our apartment balcony with Ethan and admiring the city lights, I reflected on the girl I was 2 years earlier. The one who had packed her bags and gone off with no safety net or backup plan, only determination and spite. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked, bringing me closer. "Yeah," I responded, meaning it. "I really am." My phone vibrated. Another text from my mother. "We are willing to reconcile if you are mature enough to handle this scenario." I nearly laughed at the phrasing. Instead, I blocked the number and turned off the phone. Some
Start en route to Market Avenue.
things are created by choice.
In half a mile, turn left.
$27,800 college fund to save my brother from prison. I left with 2 bags. 10 years later, they begged for more. I said no. After all that has happened over the last few years.
Alright. That's a, never mind, that's just an empty train. Yeah, that's what he's waiting for. That's the empty hopper train that I told you was going to run today. Once he clears the load, it'll come. Okay. Because right, see, look, right near his is 81. I'd probably like run. But you get my point, you know. Maybe. Point is. The coal trains. It stops and loads in the afternoon.
Okay.
So you can have the car in the morning.
Okay.
Bye.
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 My grandparents on my mother's side had set up education savings accounts for Logan and me when we were kids. Nothing much, but by the time I was 20, mine had grown to around $27,000. With the money I'd saved from work and several academic scholarships, I could afford to attend a good state school for computer technology. Logan's education fund had been depleted by his sophomore year of high school, having been spent on attorneys and court expenses, but that was fine with my parents because Logan wasn't going to college and would most likely work for Dad's construction.
Take a slight right turn onto 8th Street.
Dad's construction company was barely surviving because Logan kept costing them contracts. It's difficult to preserve professional.
At the next light, turn left.
Signs inebriated, has fights with subcontractors, and steals things to sell for drug money. Yes, that last portion came out during his second arrest in junior year, but I am getting ahead of myself. Allow me to tell you about the night that altered everything. It was March of my senior year.
At the light, turn left onto Main Street.
I was over the moon. My hard effort was finally paying off. I planned to study computer science, leave this toxic house, and start something on my own. I returned home from...
In half a mile, take a slight left turn onto Keswick Street.
He tried to save my damn life. As I came down the aisle, my brother dashed past me with a gas can, doused the entire altar in gasoline, and set it... My brother tackled my groom before the vows. I screamed at him, then realized he'd tried to save my damn life. As I came down the aisle, my brother dashed past me with a gas can, doused the entire altar in gasoline, and set it on fire before tackling my groom directly into the burning flowers. My veil caught fire as guests stampeded toward the exit, shouting, while my brother pinned my fiancé down amid the flames, hitting him and yelling something I couldn't understand over the noise. The groomsmen carried my brother away, while my fiancé rolled on the ground, second-degree burns covering his hands and arms. My mother sobbed so hard that she vomited on her dress. My father was yelling at my brother.
Go past this light, then take a slight left turn onto Keswick Street.
My brother continued to resist the four men who were holding him down, blood gushing from the nose where the best man had struck him, still shouting that my fiancé was attempting to kill me. Everyone was soothing my burned and bleeding fiancé, who was crying, while older guests need medical attention because of the panic, and the flower girl was devastated beyond words. The priest was praying over the broken altar while a bridesmaid wailed over how my brother had ruined the most important day of my life, when security arrived to arrest him. Check the champagne he was about to give her for the toast, my brother yelled as cops handcuffed him, his voice raspy from smoke inhalation. He's been poisoning her with mercury for months, and today's dose would have killed her before you cut the cake. Everyone became silent, except for the fire that remained blazing through what used to be our ceremonial space. After months, and today's dose would have killed her before you cut the cake. Everyone became silent, except for the fire that remained blazing.
go. We're leaving as soon as it goes by the head unit.
The grand jury convened a month after the wedding.
In 1 mile, turn left onto State Route 727.
Murder and poisoning accusations. Detectives discovered that my fiancé had used my identity to open credit cards and take out loans. He had faked my signature on documents and set up false email accounts in my name to approve transactions. The grand jury indicted him on 15 counts, including attempted murder in the first degree, aggravated assault, identity theft, and fraud. His lawyer attempted to negotiate a 15-year plea offer, but Rachel refused anything less than 25. She told me she wanted him locked up until he was too old to harm others. My brother came over one evening when my parents were gone, and we sat on the back porch where we used to play as children. He ultimately told me everything about that night, including how he snuck into the flat and discovered the notebook hidden beneath other books, reading my fiancé's notes about my symptoms worsening, calculating how much more mercury I could take, and preparing how to act when I died. He tried to call me, but my fiancé had blocked his number on my phone without my knowledge. Going to the police chief at 2 a.m. was his final hope for legal assistance. When the chief called my fiancé, rather than arresting him, my brother realized he only had a few hours before I died. He bought the petrol can at an all-night station and spent the drive to the chapel trying to think of an alternative.
Turn left onto State Route 727. Then the destination is on your left.
We both burst into tears, and I told him that I could never thank him enough for saving my life. 2 months after the wedding, the state police arrested the chief on allegations of obstructing justice and abuse of office.
The destination is on your left.
He called my fiancé.
Arrived.
After my brother presented him with evidence. He also destroyed the initial report my brother attempted to make and directed other officers to...
Damn it!
more difficult than I had anticipated. The mercury had interfered with my ability to concentrate, and I'd lose track of what I was doing midway through chores. My hands shook as I tried to type, and I had to take breaks every hour because I was so fatigued. My boss was very understanding, allowing me to work from home most days with flexible hours.
Pull over. I want you to do the pace when we get to this next spot.
Spreadsheets while my hands I wondered whether I'd ever feel normal again. When confronted with actual prison time, the pharmacist friend who had helped prepare everything went completely insane. His lawyer contacted Rachel and offered to testify against my fiancé in return for a lower sentence. He kept meticulous records of every interaction they had regarding dosing, timing, and how to make it appear natural. My fiancé's text conversations revealed him asking about drug interactions.
Starting route.
My parents announced their separation.
In 5.2 miles, turn left onto Chatham Road.
Existing problems impossible to ignore. My mother blamed my father for pressuring me to marry, claiming he ignored her reservations about my fiancé because he wanted me to settle down. My father chastised her for not recognizing the indicators of abuse, claiming that a mother should be meticulous records of every interaction they had regarding dosing, timing, and how to make it appear natural. My fiance's text conversations revealed him asking about drug interactions and whether mercury would be detected in a regular autopsy. The pharmacist had even taken notes on my fiance's intention to inject me with a final concentrated dose during our
crazy guy
With his
cussed me out
testimony,
here.
the case against my fiance was almost
shooting the
certain
train.
conviction. My
There it
parents
is.
announced their separation the week before the trial was set to begin. The stress of everything had made existing problems impossible to ignore. My mother blamed my
There's a
father for
railroad line at
pressuring
one
me to
time.
marry, claiming he ignored her reservations about my fiance because he wanted me to settle down. My father chastised her for not recognizing the indicators of abuse, claiming that a mother should have noticed her daughter had been poisoned. They'd been fighting non-stop since the wedding and decided they needed space. Watching my family fall apart as a result of my fiance's actions made me detest him more than the poisoning itself. Detective Holt called me the next morning while I was at another treatment session, her voice strained from what she had just learned. She'd obtained a warrant for my fiance's credit card information and discovered monthly payments to a storage facility across town that he had rented 3 months before we were engaged. The hazmat team discovered 12 vials of mercury compounds, as well as needles preloaded with various doses and a notebook in which he had written down backup plans in case the wedding poisoning failed. He intended to continue dosing me after we married, making it appear like a chronic condition that would gradually kill me over time, while he played the loyal husband caring for his sick wife. The storage container also had bogus medical paperwork he had made, claiming I had a family history of neurological issues and putting up a scenario for after my death. I threw up when she told me about the mercury-filled children's prescription bottles he planned to hide around our future home to appear like an accidental poisoning if anyone became suspicious. My treatments lasted 6 more months, with me visiting the hospital 3 times a week at first, then twice, and then once for monitoring. Dr. Samuel performed blood tests at each visit, observing my mercury levels gradually fall from the dangerous red zone to yellow, and ultimately into the safe range. Finding 12 vials of mercury in that storage container made me wonder how long my fiancé had been planning this entire thing. Was it truly only for our wedding, or has he done this before? My hair started growing back in patches at first, then more evenly, but it was thinner and had a different texture than previously. The tremors in my hands improved, but never totally disappeared, especially when I was fatigued or anxious. Some days were worse than others, with headaches that made me want to stay in bed and confusion that caused me to forget simple things like where I had left my keys. Dr. Samuel told me that I was fortunate to have survived it all, as most people with my levels of exposure would have lifelong kidney damage or worse. The trial date was established for 8 months after the wedding, giving both parties time to prepare and allowing me to heal sufficiently to testify. Jury selection alone took 2 weeks due to the media hype, with potential jurors admitting they had already formed opinions after seeing the wedding video that had been released online. The judge had to summon people from nearby counties to discover anyone who had not heard about the burning altar or the hostage situation. Seeing my fiancé in court for the first time since that day made my entire body shake, and I had to rush to the restroom to throw up before we even began. He had lost weight in jail, and his burns had healed to leave brilliant pink scars on his wrists and arms. But his eyes were cold and calculating, much as when he held the knife to my throat. I testified for 3 days in a row, detailing every sign I'd ignored, every lie I'd believed, and every time I'd trusted him with my life without realizing he was steadily stealing it away. His lawyer attempted to make me appear insane, questioning if I had invented or exaggerated symptoms for attention, but the medical records spoke for themselves. She questioned why I hadn't seen my money vanishing, or my health deteriorating, attempting to make me appear ignorant or reckless. I detailed how the mercury had confused me.
In 1 mile, turn left onto Chatham Road.
And how he had isolated me from people who could have detected something was amiss. When I described the moment he seized the knife and pushed it against my throat, several jurors appeared distraught, and one woman had tears streaming down her cheeks. My brother stood up next, still looking terrible about the fire, despite the fact that everyone knew he had saved my life. He burst into testified next, staring at the floor the entire time as he admitted to assisting in my murder plot. He validated every allegation, displaying text messages in which my fiancé inquired about prescription combinations and how to make mercury poisoning appear to be a natural disease. My fiancé gazed at him with absolute contempt throughout the testimony, his hands gripped so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The pharmacist stated that he knew it was wrong but required the money promised by my fiancé, and that he had provided the precise substances and dosing regimens. The defense attempted to prove temporary insanity by bringing in an expert who discussed financial hardship and mental breaks. However, their own witness had to admit that the months of planning, comprehensive journal, and backup plans demonstrated clear premeditation and knowledge of right and wrong. The notebook entries were particularly upsetting, as they demonstrated how he had followed my symptoms with scientific precision and altered doses based on my reactions. After 5 days of waiting while the jury debated, they returned with guilty verdicts on all charges. My fiancé did not react at all, instead staring straight ahead as if he had expected it. However, his mother began yelling from the gallery that I had wrecked their family and ruined her son's life. At my sentencing 3 weeks later, I gave my victim impact statement, my voice quivering as I detailed how he had taken away my ability to trust anyone, my health, and my sense of safety in my own house. I informed the court about my nightmares, therapy sessions, and how I couldn't leave my apartment because I was frightened of everyone. The judge listened to everything and sentenced my fiancé to 35 years in prison with no chance of release for 25 years, calling it one of the most calculated and vicious attempted murders he'd seen in his 30 years on the bench. 3 weeks later, the police chief's trial began, and I had to witness him sit there and...
Next part of this is pacing. This one's pound hidden only. We're doing good. All right. Go. When we cross the bridge is where I want to get. I want you to do the video for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Saying he had abused the public trust in the worst way possible. The pharmacist's sentence occurred a month later, and he appeared to have aged 10 years since his arrest, his hands shaking as he stood before the judge. He had fully cooperated with prosecutors, and his testimony had been critical in convicting my fiancée, as his lawyer repeatedly emphasized when pleading for leniency. The judge acknowledged his assistance, but stated that supplying poison to kill someone constituted attempted murder regardless of who delivered it. He received a 5-year sentence with the potential of release in 2 years, as well as the permanent loss of his pharmacist license, and an order to pay restitution for all of my medical expenditures, which would most likely bankrupt him. My brother's community service began that spring, and it didn't escape anyone's notice that he had to teach fire safety courses in the same community center where we had taken swimming lessons as children. He turned up every Saturday morning for 6 months straight, teaching folks about controlled burns and emergency procedures while making dark jokes about becoming an expert through first-hand experience. The kids in his classes adored him because he'd play out the demonstrations and make them interesting rather than boring, even if their parents would mutter about him being the guy who set the church on fire. By summer,
Then I'll
I
send
started
you this footage so you can have it for your
a
video.
support group that
Okay.
met every Tuesday in the library's basement, sitting in a circle of metal chairs and drinking awful coffee.
Coming up shortly.
Who was there because his ex-girlfriend attempted to run him over with her car after he broke up with her for stealing from his business. He understood why I startled when people moved too quickly, or why I still checked my food for strange odors, and he never pushed me to talk about topics I wasn't ready to discuss. We began with coffee after meetings, then supper once a week, taking things so slowly that it was 3 months before he even clasped my hand. My parents' divorce papers were filed that fall, and they sat me down together to explain that the trauma had just exposed existing problems, not created new ones. Mom had obviously been unhappy for years, and Dad had been ignoring her. But seeing their daughter nearly die made them realize they were wasting their lives pretending. They were strangely better as friends than they had been as couples, arriving separately to my therapy appointments, yet sending each other updates on my progress. The 1-year anniversary of the wedding arrived faster than planned, and I spent the day with my brother at his apartment, both of us avoiding discussing it while watching movies and eating takeout. I gave him the most recent test results from Dr. Samuel, which revealed that my mercury levels had finally returned to normal, and my liver function had nearly fully recovered. He kept a paper with a magnet on his fridge next to his fire safety instructor credential, which he had acquired after fulfilling all of his community service hours. Through this ordeal, we'd grown closer than we'd ever been as children, texting every day and eating supper together twice a week. That winter, the church contacted to inform me that they had finished rebuilding and that the priest wanted to invite me to a blessing ceremony for the newly constructed altar. I thanked them but declined, knowing that I'd never be able to step into that building without smelling gasoline and burning, or witnessing my brother shove my fiancée into the fire. The priest understood and said he'd pray for my continuous healing, which was great because I hadn't been religious since that day.
Alright. You better hold 2 hands. There you go. Very good. Spots around the bend, then we'll head to the next crossing.
time. Hey, I can do both. Alright, down to the next spot. Alright, that's good enough for now. Ooh, cool furnace. I think that's it. Maybe I'm wrong. There's God. Yeah, that's the pace. You can turn it on now. Yeah, it's the one right. Alright, now right here.
Here?
Yeah, you did it.
Alright.
Where the heck are we?
Patrick had definitely broken up with Linda, and he buried himself in his schoolwork to avoid dealing with his emotions. But here's the deal. Even if the truth has been revealed,
Max altitude reached.
things are not back to normal. Patrick seldom speaks to me. He seems cordial and aloof, as if he's embarrassed by the entire event. Mom tries to pretend as if everything is fine, but there is an uneasiness between us that was not present before. I believe Patrick feels dumb for being duped by Linda, and seeing me rise and be
I'm sorry, I'll move. Move the truck, grab the truck. I'm sorry. I apologize. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. No.
There it is, the other side. There we go. Here we go.
graduation. The moment I could find the parking lot as students and family arrived, bearing bouquets and balloons. Still nothing. By the time my name was called, I had accepted what I knew. They were not arriving. The cheers that erupted for other grads were muffled to my ears. I walked across the stage alone, forced to smile at the dean, and got the diploma that had cost me so many restless nights. My phone buzzed just as I stepped down the steps. I pulled it out, hoping that they had finally sent something supportive. Instead, there was a message from my father. "You owe us an apology." My heart has stopped. My eyes skimmed the screen again, convinced I was misinterpreted, but the words were still there, followed by 37 missed calls. 37. As if I had done something wrong and wanted to go back to them after being abandoned. I couldn't even process it. My friends' families gathered around them with flowers, hugs, and cameras. Meanwhile, I sat on the brink of a fountain, staring at my phone in shock. The text burnt itself into my mind. What do you apologize for? For existing outside of my sister's shadow. For daring to pursue a fraction of recognition that did not revolve around her. I wanted to toss my phone in the water, but instead I pushed it in my pocket and tightened my fists until my knuckles were white. That was the point at which the first significant breach in my relationship with my family appeared. Until then, I had put up with the favoritism, disrespectful comments, and countless explanations. But that text, that arrogance, was the first time I felt the full weight of their perverted priorities. I didn't respond. Not then. Not for the rest of the day. I walked home carrying my diploma in a basic folder. There are no balloons, flowers, or family dinners waiting. Just silence. But deep down, I knew it was merely the beginning. That message was more than simply a stab in the back. It was a declaration. And if they wanted to play this game, I was not going to sit quietly any longer. When I finally went on my phone later that night, there were so many alerts that it felt like my family had been holding a trial without me. My mother's voicemails began with the charming tone she often used when she wanted to shame me. "Patrick, honey, you must understand that this was not about you. We all had to be there for your sister. Family comes first." The following one had a harder edge. "You've embarrassed us by ignoring your father's calls. Julia was crying because you didn't congratulate her. Do you really want to ruin her big day?" By the third message, my father's voice thundered through the speaker. "Pick up your phone and stop acting like a child. You've angered your mother, and you should apologize for your attitude." That term had been haunting me since the ceremony, and seeing it repeated in those texts made something in me twist. I sat on my bed, staring at the blank walls of my apartment, graduation case still unopened on the desk, and reflected on how every significant event in my life had been minimized in the name of family unity. When I obtained my first job at 16, they warned me not to brag because Julia was failing in school. When I was accepted to college, they felt it wasn't fair to discuss it over dinner because Julia hadn't applied anyplace. Now, the day that should have been mine alone has been completely sacrificed for her baby shower. 2 days later, I made the mistake of visiting the family home. I walked in, hoping that seeing them face to face would help them understand how much it hurt, only to see pink balloons still taped to the living room walls, confetti spilled across the carpet, and baby gifts stacked higher than the couch. Julia sat in the recliner like Queen, browsing through her phone while my mother fussed over folding small onesies. "Well, look who finally decided to show up," my father exclaimed upon seeing me.
In 2 miles, take exit 175 onto US 11 North, toward Natural Bridge.
I was already in the wrong. Julia didn't look up when she said, "Did you bring something for the baby? We're still accepting gifts." She spoke as if it were a joke, but her smirk told me she meant every word. My stomach churned. I had spent what little extra money I had on a new suit for graduation because I wanted to appear well when I walked over that stage. I had nothing left for another round of baby shower gifts. "I came to talk," I responded calmly, trying to keep my wrath under control. But my mother cut me off before I could explain. "Patrick, this attitude of yours is unacceptable. We had to make a choice, and we chose to support your sister because she needed us more. You should have understood that." I stared at her, hoping for her to laugh and claim it was simply a misunderstanding. But she meant it. To her, it was that simple. Julia needed them. As a result, my graduation did not matter. "I needed you too," I said softly, more to myself than to them. My father's eyes narrowed. "Don't start with that selfish tone."
Use the right lane to take exit 175 onto US 11 North, toward Natural
You should
Bridge.
be grateful we even came back here to celebrate you now. Eyes narrowed. Don't start with that selfish talk. You think walking across a stage compares to bringing a new life into this world. You should be grateful we even came back here to celebrate you.
Take the exit. Then take the first right onto US 11.
As I looked around the room, which was still decorated for Julia's
At the
shower.
stop sign, turn right onto US 11 toward Glasgow. Then turn left onto South Lee Highway.
No congratulations. Just piles of colored wrapping paper and rabbits. I recognized then that they did not think I was worth celebrating.
At the stop sign, turn left onto South Lee Highway.
Julia finally laid her phone down and grinned at me. Don't sulk. You'll get over it. Besides, you'll probably have another graduation when you go for your master's, right? This one was just practice.
In about 1.5.
Yeah, it's him. Where'd he go? full charge. That's better.
Point updated.
You hear that? All right. What's that?
Oh yeah. Do you see that? Hoppers. Look right there. They're coming. See? Yep. Finally. Oh yeah.